Welcome to Grandpa's True Scary Stories, where every story you hear was once real. Tonight's tale is a haunting true urban legend titled The Town They Erased. If you love true scary stories, urban legends and mysteries buried in history, make sure to like, subscribe and turn on the bell. Because some places aren't forgotten by accident, they're erased for a reason. This is one of those true scary stories for sleep and night drives. A tale that drifts between the lines of history and horror, where every whisper of wind might carry a secret no one was meant to remember. People think maps tell you where things are. They don't. They tell you what someone wants to be there. I learned that the night my navigation app showed a turn for a road that doesn't exist anymore. It led me to a black stretch of water the state calls Burden Reservoir. Half a mile offshore, under a moon bright as paper, I saw street lamps burning beneath the surface. Something wanted me to know the town down there was still alive. At 3:12 a.m, my phone buzzed with a notification I didn't subscribe to. Welcome to Gallow's End. I restore old maps for a small county archive, cigarette burn atlases, folded road sheets full of pencil repairs, surveyor linen that smells like basements and rain. My boss, Elsie, says the dead talk through paper. You can see deletions, a river moved because a developer needed land, a street renamed after somebody paid for it. We recently got a donation, State Highway Atlas, 1962. The pages crackled when you turned them, like they remembered who touched them last. On the local plate, a town I'd never heard of was stamped in neat serif, Gallow's End, Pop 1204. That name doesn't exist on any database now. On the 1974 reprint, the same grid shows only Burden Reservoir, filled to the brim. Condemned for a dam project, Elsie said, not looking up. Happens all the time. They relocate the houses or bulldoze them, move the graveyard, people get stipends. History drowns politely. That night I drove out with my camera to take reference shots for the archive's website, photos of the modern shoreline to pair with the old grid lines. The app glitched 15 minutes from town. A side road appeared in white, unlabelled, then labelled, then bolded, Ferry Street. I shouldn't have turned, but I wanted to see where a street with a ferry could lead without water. The pavement narrowed to cracked concrete stitched with weeds. Street signs stood where no houses did. The names old-fashioned and slightly wrong. Mill Lane, Undertaker Road, Meeting House Green. My headlights picked up the outline of a storefront. Nothing behind it but trees. Then another. False fronts raised like gravestones. At the shore, a defaced metal placard said, Burden Reservoir, no swimming. Someone had scratched "Welcome back" into the paint. The lake was a flat mirror. When I killed the engine, I heard nothing but a live hum, as if wires ran underwater. I took one step closer and saw it. A row of lamps beneath the surface, pale yellow like moth wings, angled along a street dipping toward what used to be a square. The lamps brightened faintly in sequence, one after another, walking the town's spine under the dark. I filmed, hands shaking. A shape crossed between two lamps. The water accepted it, then forgot it. My phone pinged. Tour begins at the meeting house, 3:12 a.m. I looked at the time. 3:05. When I glanced up, there was a shadow in the lake, standing where I would have stood if I'd been born 60 years earlier. I went back the next day with the 1962 Atlas and a stack of copier transparencies. I laid them against my windshield and aligned the old grid with the trees and the shoreline. Gallow's End emerged in thin blue lines, brief streets, a small green square, meeting house, undertaker, ferry, schoolhouse, elm. On the reverse of the atlas page, in red pencil, surveyor's marks, someone had written, mail stopped 10:17, church 10:21, water 10:27. The day the mail stopped, the town died, at least officially. That night the road to the reservoir felt shorter. I parked at the same spot. The app's map turned from satellite to skeletal grid. Black background, white lines, like bones, traced in chalk. 3:10 a.m. Wind curled over the water like breath. 3:11. A hum rose, low as a truck idling far away. 3:12. A notification slid across my lock screen. Meeting house open. Accept terms to proceed. I pressed accept without reading. The screen flashed, then showed a compass. The needle spun and then settled below the waterline. I stepped onto the boat ramp, which shouldn't have existed but had ribs of old boards slick with silt. The water was clearer than it had any right to be at night. Under the surface, pale rectangles arranged in domestic order. I whispered stupidly, "Is anyone there?" Because that's what people say to empty rooms and full forests. A child's voice answered, not from the air, but from the phone speaker. "You're late for service." The lamps brightened again, stepping me inward by sight, if not by feet. I remembered Elsie. People get stipends. They move the graveyard. History drowns politely. "What happened to you?" I asked the atlas, the lake, myself. Underwater, something turned and looked up. Not eyes, attention. The phone screen flickered and briefly showed 1959 at the top, battery level 100%, carrier Gallow's telephone. A text appeared from an unknown number. "Bring us back." Then another. "Take down the dam." Over the next week, I lived half in 2 towns. By day, I restored maps for the state that omitted Gallow's End. By night, I learned its streets by the lamps underwater, matching grid lines to ghostlight. It's impressive what we pretend not to see. Whatever you found, be sure it found you too. The app changed on its own. New menu items appeared, new residents, obituaries, notices. Each page was a palimpsest, names beneath names, places layered like onions. On obituaries, a list of dates ended on 10/27. On notices, the last entry read, "All stubborn items to be secured and weighted. Fines apply." Stubborn items. I thought of piano legs and quilting frames. I thought of people who refused to leave. On the 7th night, I went with a cheap drone, thinking I could map the street lamp line from above and overlay the grid to prove the town still had a skeleton. I launched it from the ramp. The screen showed my feet a moment, then water, then pale streets like veins. As the drone descended, my phone vibrated off rhythm with the controller, like a second pulse inside my hand. The camera auto-centered on a dark square. The meeting house roof beneath the surface, apex intact. Someone stood at the underwater door. The drone's downward lights made a cone. In it, I saw a woman in a long dark coat, hair moving like weeds, lifting her hand to knock. The phone chimed and showed Live, Sunday service. A push alert. Please silence devices during worship. Beneath me, the lamps along Meeting House Green went out one by one, walking darkness toward my shore. The surface began to dimple, not waves but footfalls from below. My shoes got wet without the water rising. I pulled the drone up. It resisted, as if a cable had snagged, then broke free, hard enough to sting my fingers. The drone view spun. In the last clean frame before fail, it captured a whole crowd gathered under the surface, upturned faces pale as palms, mouths closed, eyes patient. The final frame froze with one face filling it, a girl with a ribbon in her hair, cheeks blue-white, head tilted the respectful way children listen. She mouthed, "Welcome back," as the feed died. The phone switched to the Atlas overlay. A red pencil line drew itself from Ferry Street to my location. It wrote in careful block letters, "Access reopened 0312. The 312 motif dug its nail into my thoughts. I took a step back toward the car. A bell rang from the water. A small church bell, not a buoy. And in the same second, my car alarm chirped, distant and feeble, as if submerged too. "Okay," I said to nobody. "Okay, I see you." "Good," said a voice that wasn't Elsie's. It came from the 1962 Atlas on my passenger seat. When I looked, my phone had switched to the front camera. It showed my face with the town grid faintly superimposed. Blocks fit perfectly over my mouth and eyes. I tried to stop going. I put the 1962 Atlas back in the archive, locked in a drawer. I told myself the town drowned politely and the dam was a fact like weather. Elsie left a note. "We don't keep books that want to leave." The drawer was open a crack. The Atlas lay on the table, patient. That night I drove a different way home. The app rerouted me down Ferry Street anyway, though no such street exists. Somewhere behind the tree line, water shone. Somewhere under that water, lamps waited the way eyes do behind curtains. At 3:12 a.m., though I didn't check a clock, my phone vibrated. The notification was different. Town hall meeting, vote on returning, buttons, yes, no. My thumb hovered. The screen reflected me with the grid lines where wrinkles should go. I pressed no and put the phone face down, shaking like I'd escaped something small and mean. When I got home, my porch light was on. There was mud on my doorstep in prints too neat to be mine. Inside, on my kitchen table, lay a municipal letter folded once. Notice of annexation. Your property is hereby incorporated into Gallow's End. The signature was Elsie's, though she never writes that tidy. In the blue stamp at the bottom, a date, 10/27, in the same red pencil I'd seen on the Atlas. I looked down at my phone. The map had changed for good. I no longer live in Burdon County. When the house is quiet, I can hear the distant hum of underwater lines. Sometimes the sink tastes sweet and metallic, and sometimes, late, the street lamp outside my window flickers on and off in pairs, like someone walking a road that isn't there anymore, bringing the town back one light at a time. The end. Thank you for listening to my story. If this tale kept you awake tonight, make sure to like, subscribe and turn on the bell, because there are many more true scary stories, urban legends and real horror tales waiting just around the corner. This was Grandpa's True Scary Stories, where every whisper hides a truth, and every truth hides a nightmare. Stay tuned for the next story, if you dare.